When I first started my minimalism journey, I was really hung up with the aesthetic and the lifestyle, or the minimalism dream. Hey there, my handsome and pretty little Cobras, and welcome back to the Cobras Nest. For those of you who are new, my name is Mignon Cobra and I make minimalism videos. Today's video is going to be 6 things that I learned from 6 years of minimalism. So without further ado, let's just get into the video. Let's get it, let's go! Woo! A little bit of housekeeping before we get started. If you wish to help out my channel, consider checking out my Patreon, and if not, then just help me out with the algorithm by giving this video a thumbs up, a like, and a subscribe, and let's just get into the video. Okay, so for those of you who are new, my name is Mignon Cobra and I've been making minimalism videos for quite some time. I started about 4 years ago, but I've actually been a minimalist for about 6 years. I became a minimalist in 2015, primarily with the goal of paying off my student loans and stop being so bad with money. And in that period of 6 years, I have done a lot of blunders. You can check out my videos, and I just thought I wanted to share the 6 things that are the best things that I feel I have learned from minimalism and I've continued to implement in my life, even though 6 years have gone by and I'm really not that hardcore anymore. But if you're considering starting this journey, I hope that these lessons that I've learned can help you out. Number 1, it's not really about the stuff. When I first started my minimalism journey, I was really hung up with the aesthetic and the lifestyle, or the minimalism dream. That's like, I'm only gonna have a couple clothes and I'm not gonna own anything and I'm gonna be super free and life is just gonna be amazing. And while that is kind of true, I did live out of a suitcase for 6 months. But I do wanna say that I realized at the end, minimalism is not really about the stuff. Like, once you declutter your stuff, there's nothing else to declutter. So you start decluttering negative thoughts and negative abstract ideas from your life, and I feel like that's when the magic really started to happen. Once I'd let go of a lot of like negative notions that were like holding me back, like associating my self-worth with my material possessions, judging things on a superficial level, obsessing about my looks, obsessing about my social media. Once I let those things go, I realized that minimalism is about intentionality and about having things in my life that were really meaningful, as opposed to fixating or focusing on what I didn't want to have in my life and like what I wanted to declutter. Number 2, doing is better than owning. Before I became a minimalist, I put a lot of importance and self-worth on what I owned. So I had massive wish lists. I frequently had wish lists of things that I wanted to buy, and I felt that like my life was going to be better once I bought this and once I bought that. And once I finished buying that, it was on to the next thing to buy. And I always had these ideas in my mind of, I guess, indulging a fantasy self. Once I bought it, I was going to be so cool and everyone's going to love me. But I kind of found that once I could no longer have my focus on having material things, or I shifted away from that, I realized that I actually generated a lot more joy in doing things. So when I started to like do things like video edit, once I started exercising, once I started like just doing things as opposed to my focus just being on buying things, I found myself a lot more fulfilled and a lot happier. I guess when you're busy doing stuff, it's just a lot more like enjoyable than constantly accumulating things. Accumulating things was just like an unsatisfiable void, kind of like the hungry ghost idea, that you just eat and it goes through you and it never fills you. That's kind of what happened to me, and once I started doing things, I felt a lot more fulfilled. I guess playing and having fun and interacting with others was just a much better way to live my life. Number 3, speaking of people, increasing the number of people and decreasing the number of stuff. I used to think it was really important to own a lot of stuff, to have collections, to buy this, to buy that. That was like the most important thing in my life, and I figured once I had a full-time job, I was going to be able to buy whatever I wanted, however much I wanted. But as I became a minimalist and I decided that having things wasn't important to me, I realized how important it was to have good connections with people and to increase the number of connections I had with people. And I found that that made me feel much more fulfilled and whole than having material possessions. Because if all that I cared about was having material possessions, it was a bit lonely, as opposed to being with people. Being with people left me feeling a lot more fulfilled. I have no idea how many times I have said fulfilled in this video up until this point. Number 4, lots of money saved. One of the initial reasons why I became a minimalist was with the goal of saving money and not spending as much money. I figured that if I wasn't buying stuff or pursuing more material possessions, I was going to save money. That was one of the initial goals of it. But I was just kind of shocked at how much money I was actually saving when I realized that I didn't have to be spending all of my money on material possessions. When I go to the mall now, I don't really feel that inclined to have to buy this, to have to buy that. And I think about how much money I've saved and it's probably in the thousands. And I'm really relieved because having money has really soothed a lot of my stress and a lot of my anxiety, that I think that if I kept spending my money, and I think if I was like in not the greatest of financial situations because of having less money, I think my life wouldn't be as relaxing or stress-free as it is, where my finances are like in a healthier state because I don't spend extra money on like unnecessary things. Number 5, more value in giving to others than taking for myself. This one is actually quite the recent one, as I've dove more into like Buddhism and community and religion and just like having a stronger faith with God. I've kind of seen that it's actually a lot more fulfilling to put the needs of others before my own, to take into consideration others. It's been a lot healthier for my mental state. When I was constantly thinking about me and what like I could get for me and what more I could do for me, I became very self-centered and selfish and a little bit unhappy, actually. I found that with minimalism, when I was no longer stuffing myself with stuff, I kind of had a lot more space and room and I guess financial ability to look at others and think, what can I do to help others, as opposed to just constantly thinking, what can I do for myself. A good example of this is my YouTube channel. When I no longer had shopping as a hobby, as a self-indulgent habit, I started creating YouTube videos to help others out, and I think that has been way more fun and interesting and character building than any material possession that I could have collecting dust somewhere in my room. Number 6, the joy of less. I've really come to appreciate the disciplined pursuit of less. It was kind of like being on a hedonic treadmill. When I bought something, I was happy for a bit and then it wore off, so I had to buy something else, and I was happy for a bit, and then I just constantly had to keep buying things to reoccur that same high. But I just find that it's just a lot more practical and easier, especially on my wallet, to incur that happiness by going in the opposite direction. I get a sense of pleasure and feeling of pride when I say no to buying things. I feel like, good job, I'm practicing discipline. And I feel a lot more happier this way. I also feel a lot more at ease knowing that I don't have a lot of clutter in my house or in my home because I have less. And so the few things that I do have, I kind of have that luxury to buy better, to buy the things that I really do want to buy because there's intentionality behind it. I have the means for it, I have the space for it. And I also feel a lot more comfortable saying no to items that don't suit me. Before, I was a little bit indecisive. I'd be like, yeah, sure, throw it in. But now I'm very, very regimented. I'm not about having mediocre things in my life, so I have a lot more quality in my life, and I just feel like that's just the way that I would rather live. And I've just really been enjoying having less. Once you practice having less, it's really difficult to explain it. You just feel like, why would you want less? Who wouldn't want more? Who wouldn't want abundance? Yes, it's true, but I think it's the discipline aspect that makes the joy of less that really enjoyable aspect. If anybody knows anything about Stoicism, it's kind of like in the realm of that. You feel very self-sufficient, which is something that Aristotle said, blessed are the self-sufficient. Having less makes me feel very like, yeah, like I got this, like I'm in control and I'm disciplined and the things that I have are intentional and I chose it that way, and I didn't settle for no mediocre stuff. Okay, so those are the 6 things that I have learned throughout my 6 years of minimalism. I hope that this helped out anybody, or if not, then if you just related. So I will see you guys in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye!